Welcome back to Entirely NBA, hosted by Entirely Media. I'm your host, Darion Robinson.
Kyle Murph, what's good?
We got a special guest with us today, Michael Carter Williams. What's going on, bro?
Ain't nothing, bro. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I want to ask you this question. What's the hardest part about being an NBA player?
Definitely the travel. Just, the mental drain, the physical drain that it has on you, being in different time zones, waking up, being tired. The travel, takes a toll on you.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot. So how do you actually deal with that? And it's not something you can really take out of it. It's part of the process, right? So not even deal with it. How do you learn to cope or make that something that doesn't weigh on you so heavily?
Just stagger sleep, try to sleep, during the plane rides, make sure naps are, essential in the routine. That's something that I always did was, try to get a nap before, every game, just to be real scheduled on that, on my sleep.
Now during this time, as you have started seeing other opportunities other than basketball, do you still follow that same regimen, that same scheme, that same schedule?
No, I haven't, honestly.
Okay,
Honestly,
okay.
I just last year was the first year that I didn't play, the first season that I didn't play. So it's been an adjustment period for me. I'm trying to still get adjusted to my daily routines, what that looks like, things I'm doing, off the floor. But I'm starting to feel like, okay, like I need to go back to, even doing some hoop workouts, like just, staying active, staying in the game. I'm still trying to figure that out. I'm still trying to figure out what that looks like for me, my daily routine, and how I can most benefit as as a human being for that.
Okay. Kind of backpedaling. Do you think that not having that sleep, did that affect, or that traveling, did that affect your play in the game?
Sometimes, definitely some days I'll go into the game a little, with a little bit more energy than others. You just get tired, though, especially on the back-to-backs. Like if you play in, LA and then you play Sacramento on a that's a short distance. But,
Yeah.
Even the longer, distance from Portland to Sacramento, like a back-to-back, waking up on that, second back-to-back. And some seasons, man, we got we had the 12, 11:30 game on a back-to-back. Like I remember a couple years ago, I think they took them out now, but for sure.
The league, they schedule for that though, right? They make sure they put that together, like making sure you're not going from Cali to New York.
No, they don't do it
Yeah.
from Cali to New York. But
Right.
there's other distance. You go on a West Coast trip, you could get a little 3-4 hour flight that on a back-to-back night where they should just throw one day in between. But now they get you sometimes though.
For sure it does.
For sure.
So, all right, let's jump right into Syracuse, because I want to talk about this part of it. And I've watched, trust me, like when we set up these interviews, the research that we try to do is pretty immense, right? So I've watched pretty much every interview you did. So some of this I know is going to be like a rerun for you. But I want to obviously do this in a way that provides maybe a different perspective. So when we talk about Syracuse, obviously being the guy up until this point, being behind 3 other guards, I want to ask you, what the hell kept you from transferring out when you were getting little to no playing time? I know it's frustrating. So why didn't you transfer out?
The honest answer is I knew that the platform, the keys to the car would be mine the next year.
okay.
Nah. How'd you know that? How'd you know that?
Well, because Dion was going to leave. We knew Dion was going to leave. Scoop was a 5th-year senior, so he was going to leave, right? So it was going to be me and Brandon, as the and it was up in the air if Brandon was going to leave. So like I knew that, but like nobody was going to take that spot from me that next year. All the dues that I paid my freshman year but there was plenty of times where I threatened to leave, where I was like, I'm out of here. Like there was plenty of times, but then you'd always have that little grace period where you sit down and you think about it and you're like, damn, like if I leave and go somewhere else, then I got to sit out a year. This was back when the transfer and you couldn't just transfer and play that year. So I'd have to sit out that year and then wait for my junior year. I was like, it just doesn't make sense for me. If I know I'm going to sit here and play here and I've been working my ass off this whole year, I've been competing in practice every single day. Every day were wars in practice. Like there was no reason for, it wasn't a good idea for me to leave. I just thought that like the best thing for people, but it was frustrating. It was hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to pivot real quick because we just came off an interview with Jamie Lamb. And so I want to ask you then, because you said it yourself. You said, I knew I was going to play. Ain't nobody taking that spot from me. That's confidence in its finest. He said that he didn't have that type of confidence. So I want to ask you, when the hell did you know you were the man? When did that confidence come for you?
I think during like I said, our practices were wars. During those practices, when the days I got the better of Scoop or Brandon or even Dion, I was like, man, like these guys are playing at the next level somewhere. Dion was definitely getting drafted, right? Like playing ones with him. Like if I can do well and be successful against him and Scoop and Brandon, I was like, okay, then I know I could, be successful at the next level. That's what really kind of opened my eyes. Like, oh yeah, like I can play at the highest level of this game. But yeah, like our first unit was like Scoop, Brandon, Chris Joseph, James Sutherland, and Fab Mello. And our second unit was me, Dion, CJ Fair, Raheem Christmas, and Byron Musakita. So we had had a crazy second unit. Like sometimes second unit would get the better of our first unit, vice versa. So like every day was a war, and I knew that that was getting me ready to play in that next level. So that gave me a lot of confidence.
With that confidence, did you still put the work in that next summer going into your sophomore year, or was it just like,
oh, for sure,
you kind of just knew? Did the coach come up to you and ask you like, hey, look, here's the keys to the car, you gotta lead us? Is that what they did to you? Or
yeah, I mean, it was kind of like even during the year, like I was the first one to practice, last one to leave. Like I would, like basketball was my outlet, like getting all my frustration out, like playing scrimmages in the practices were like games to me, because like I wouldn't play. I remember Coach Hopkins and we got into it, and that's like he was like a big, like an uncle, big brother figure to me. When I was at Syracuse, and he subbed me out during practice, and I was like, man, you subbing me out during practice? I don't play in the game. Like I was going at him because he subbed me out, and like we were like face to face damn near. And actually, he headbutted me on the nose a little bit. I owe him one for that. But but yeah, like so every single day, I try to do my best, and that carried over to the summer for me to really prepare myself, because everything that I was asking for, everything that I was bitching about, all that was like, okay, now it's your turn. So now I was like, all right, I got to be ready now, because everything I asked for is on the table for me. I got to be ready to go get it.
I like that. So let's fast forward just a little bit there. After 8 double doubles you had your sophomore year, I think 5 of those were in a row. Almost 12 points. I think it was like 7 assists, 5 rebounds, and then almost damn near 3 steals, which, first of all, that defense aspect has always been a staple in your career. We're going to talk about that. But what was the atmosphere like around campus at Syracuse when you guys made it to the Final Four that year?
It was lit. Like every game, like every game we won in the tournament, like when we come back home, like it was exciting, because you guys know Syracuse, they don't have an NBA team, so all of us are like the stars in the city. So every single game, we got immense support from from everyone, all our fans, everyone at the school. It was a good time.
So how was that transition after the tough losses in the Final Four? How was that transition to getting ready for the draft to go into the NBA the next year after you knew you was headed out?
It was a lot. Like everything just kind of happened so fast. Actually, my house had burnt down during the tournament, and I probably was going to enter the draft anyway. I had a good tournament. I did well, but like that was the final stamp for me to be like, okay, things are a little rocky in my family. Like I got like there's no turning back. There's no thinking about going back to college. Like I'm going to the NBA. So I kind of was dealing with a lot, going into the draft. But I just I leaned on my family, leaned on my agents, and going through the pre-draft stuff, working out, adjusting to the lifestyle. It was a lot. A lot was coming at me at once.
Did you have like a thought process of what number you're going in?
Yeah, I knew I was going to go lottery. My agent was confident that I was going to go lottery. I was nervous though, because I didn't want to be that guy that the camera panned to like every time somebody was didn't get drafted. So I did well in my workouts for teams. I got invited back by a few teams, but it was a good process. It was a cool process. it was a long summer, man. I couldn't wait to be done with it.
Those emotions, especially with the like a traumatic situation like that with your house, being able to make it there and get to the NBA, like financially help your family, did that take off some pressure, or did that just make you want to work even harder to go even further in your career?
Yeah, no, it definitely took off some pressure. You know, I was obviously able to help out financially. My brothers and sisters lost everything. A lot of my stuff was, you know, all my clothes and, you know, material stuff was in at Syracuse, but they lost, you know, kind of all their stuff. So being able to help them out, being able to help my family out, that took a lot of pressure off from me and my family.
Well, good. I'm glad you were able to help with that, because that's a big step for you as a man.
Right.
Now, 76ers in a process here, which has been the staple of that damn city and team for
Too long.
for too long. You had lost 26 straight games that year. I mean, obviously you yourself had a lot of usage. Number one, congratulations on that.
Appreciate you.
You were, no problem. You were also hitting that rookie wall. So, I mean, I got to ask, as a man, how did you maintain your professionalism and your play that year?
Man, it was a learning experience for me. Like, yeah, hitting that rookie wall was crazy. I remember, you know, trying to sneak in 10, 15-minute naps on the bus, like before games. Like that was probably the most tired year I've ever experienced in my life. But I was grateful for the opportunity just to go out and hoop and be in the NBA. Like I was a kid who, you know, worked my whole life to get to the NBA. So, and I was excited to play against different guys, like, you know, going against Bron, going against Steph, Westbrook, D Rose, like, you know, playing against the guys that I watched growing up. I'm like, man, like I finally get to do that. So there was some excitement there. And then all the other stuff that, you know, happened, you know, losing 26 games straight.
That's wild.
Having new teammates every other game, like that was hard to deal with. As a competitor, that was hard. You know, most of my life I've won games. I've been a winner on, you know, all my teams. So that was hard. I'm not gonna lie. Those were some tough days where I was, you know, upset with, you know, losing. Not only losing, but just even going into games feeling like, you know, we're heavily outmatched. Like I'll never go in a game and be like, we're gonna lose, but like to look over on the other side and be like, you know how everybody plays, you know, games like that where you're just like, man, like we got to go through this again. And it was like we'd be so close, and it was like teams would just chill like against us for the first 3 quarters, and then in the fourth, it would turn up and we would lose. We'd be like,
How do you think winning Rookie of the Year impacted your career?
I think it put a staple on my career. I mean, first, I mean, to me, it was an accomplishment that, you know, that I'll obviously remember forever. You know, it brought light to my name. People knew who I was. It's funny though, no one had picked me to win Rookie of the Year before, you know, before I got, you know, drafted.
Right.
But then the comments of being made that I won Rookie of the Year, and, you know, my career seesawed a little bit, but like, from the beginning, I don't think anyone, you know, had me winning Rookie of the Year or doing the things that I was able to do, you know, in the NBA. So to me, it's a real accomplishment for me. But obviously it was tough. You know, it put a target on my back. You know, a lot of the guys, I was getting attention. A lot of the guys in the league, especially when I was a rookie. Like, I remember, you know, even, you know, guys, you know, bringing out the best of guys because, you know, I was, you know, heavily favored for Rookie of the Year. So it was good though. It was fun. It was competitive. I wouldn't want it any other way.
So with that being said, like, do you think that, excuse me, with that being said, do you think that you got a lot of criticism for having being Rookie of the Year of the bad draft year when you came in?
Yeah, I mean, even I think that's a misconception. I don't think it was a bad draft year. If you look at everybody who panned out, like our draft was, you know, our draft
solid.
was,
Solid.
It was solid. It was definitely solid. So yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, I think that, like I said before, it's an accomplishment that, you know, that I'm happy with. It definitely, like, people always say, like, you know, I peaked at my first game. Like, I don't know what else you wanted. Like, I don't even know how I'm supposed to get 9 steals twice in my career. You know what I mean? Like, you know, having 22, 12, 7, you know, 7, 9. You know what I mean? It was not many people can do that once. So, you know, obviously it's a. But hey, I'll take it any day of the week.
That bothers me. People, I hadn't read that, but clearly you've heard it. People said you peaked after that first game.
Yeah, I've heard it a bunch. You know, I mean, everyone, you know, fans love to talk. It's part of the game. But
everybody got an opinion.
It is what it is. Yeah, everybody has an opinion.
That's wicked to me. So, I mean, in that rookie year, I think season starts in October. So November 10th would have been maybe a week and a half into your season. You matched up against Kyrie and the Cavs. Do you remember that game, that double OT game?
Yep. I remember that game.
I love that.
Yep.
So as a young rook coming in, and I watched it, hell of a game on your part. What was that like being matched up?
Yeah, I mean, it was a point where, again, like I'll watch guys and I'll be like, man, I can't believe I'm going against this dude. And that was another one. It was Kyrie, like going against him. It was just exciting. Like, yeah, like I always had the mindset of like guys are, really, really good, but when they were never really, really good against me until they are really good against me. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
going into that, it was just another one of those games where I was like, man, I gotta win, and I gotta play well, and he's gonna get the best version of myself.
So then when we talk about, and I want to, I guess, transition. We'll come back to the guys you played against, but I want to talk about real quickly guys that you've played with. And I mean, when we talk about your game and your mentality, Rondo, Kemba, CP3, Giannis, Wade, Harden, Jimmy, and Evan Turner. I threw him in there. I know his name's not huge like the rest of the guys, but Evan.
I was about to say you snuck ET in there.
I had to. How did at least viewing those guys, being around those guys, shape your understanding of the game and how you played?
I mean, yeah, we talk about Evan, right? Like he was big for me, when I was a rookie, just in terms of, having somebody to ask questions to, somebody to show me the NBA lifestyle, kind of the ins and outs of the league, what not to do, what to do, kind of taking me under his wing a little bit. He did a lot for me. In terms of the other guys, I saw, Rondo with, how much he studied film and what really paying attention to the game does. With Jimmy, he was an ultra competitor.
Yeah.
Always ready to compete. Every single game, he gives it his all. So it was cool to see that from, a guy of his stature. I think, same thing with Chris Paul, ultra competitive guy. Seeing somebody think the game like he does on the court, similar to Rondo.
Yeah.
And Giannis, just the work that he put in was crazy to see him go from, him and I were, around the same age at the time. So, and it was, before he blew up. So to see the steps that he took to get to that level, was inspiring. It was cool, like to be a part of that, to, help him out with, things that he needed, and, building a friendship with him was great. And then with Kemba, it was probably the first time I was able to see somebody lead, just by being kind of who they are, right? Not even with their voice. Like Kemba wasn't a huge talker. He wasn't a rah guy. Like he wasn't gonna, he wasn't gonna be in your face about things. But he was able to lead just by, how hard he played. It was just, he just has natural leadership without using his voice. Like it's a kind of a hard thing to explain, but if you want somebody to follow and lead the pack, Kemba can do that without, like I said, without his voice. So all those guys were great, and I try to take bits and pieces from, all of them.
I got excited because you brought this up when you talk about Kemba leading by example. One of the biggest knocks of my favorite all-time player is Kevin Durant. Okay, so I want to hear from your perspective. If you've already seen it with Kemba, and obviously you're a player, you've seen it in real time, real live action. Can a player lead by example without having to be vocal, like Kevin Durant gets knocked for?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at KD's career and you see obviously the things that he's accomplished, but if you look at his losses in the times that he's won, like he's always performed. Like it's not like it was him being vocal going to change his big toe on the line against,
No.
Like it wasn't going to do that. Like he played against Bron, in Cleveland when they lost, when he was with OKC. Like you can't really, you can't fault him for that either. Like I'm not agreeing with the, KD isn't a good leader. I think he shows up every day and he plays to the best of his ability. I think he gets, he lets guys play their game. He let Westbrook do his thing. Like Westbrook's numbers weren't going down when playing with KD. Steph's numbers weren't going down playing KD. Clay's numbers weren't going, like he lets guys develop, and play their game alongside of him. I just think people are gonna knock guys wherever, right? Like people hate on Bron, people hate on KD, people hate on Steph. Like it you know, people hate on Westbrook. Like they're just gonna find things to do because that's what critics and fans do.
I think that people just kind of just dislike greatness. So when you're doing too well, or if you're you hit some type of peak, everybody's just like, there's something wrong with this guy. Like,
For sure.
I think that's kind of wild. But still, kind of talking about the fact that like the players that you play with, being drafted with Giannis, playing with Giannis, all that good stuff there. Like, can you talk about, like, you kind of watched him grow firsthand? Can you talk about how special Jabari Parker was if he wasn't injured? Like, what was that dynamic when you were over there?
Yeah, I mean, for a while, there was a debate like who's better right now, Jabari or Giannis? Like who's going to be the guy on the team? And yeah, no, he was good. He was real good, man. He still can hoop. Like he's still good. I don't like using the word was when people are playing, but yeah, man, he can hoop. Like his injuries definitely affected him. You know, a lot of his game was athleticism, getting to the rim. I think mentally, I think the difference between the two of them is mental, and you can't really blame Jabari on that for all the injuries that he has gone through.
Yeah.
And getting traded and being on different teams, it's not an easy thing, and not everybody can adapt to it so quickly. So I think their career paths went different ways. Obviously, injuries played a big part, but for a while it was like, man, like they're 1 and 2, and I don't know who knows which one's 1 and which one's 2.
That's crazy to think about, because we were talking to somebody, and that's the exact conversation that was brought up. It's like if Jabari doesn't get hurt, and obviously you guys still get Chris Middleton, and that team continues on, that's that's a scary lineup for a lot of years.
Yeah, it sure is.
Well, I'm glad we're on the Bucks, because I do have a quick question, and obviously we'll talk about more mental stuff with trades and stuff like that later. But that 2015 to 2016 year, Jason's kids, their style of coaching and motivation, I should say, towards you, for some, would push them to another level. And I mean a small amount, right? Like, there's no way I would have been able to cope with some of the stuff that he was directing towards you. Not saying it was wrong, but it's how it works sometimes. So it did the opposite for you. It kind of stripped your confidence. And those were your words in the article I read. So, man, what do you think went wrong between you two?
It's tough. It's tough to talk about, because I think that I'm at a place in my life where I'm not trying to hold animosity towards anybody. I'm not trying to talk bad about anybody. I'm not trying to, it's been a long time. But I think if I evaluate the situation, and even like you said, right, there's a small percentage of people that would have advanced. I think if I came out and told stories about, him and I's arguments, our conversations, the things that he did to me, and you guys knew that background, I don't even think you would say a small amount of people would succeed in that. I just don't see a way where, the things that him and I went through, where anybody could succeed. And I don't know. I would hope he's, I get asked about him in a lot of interviews. So I try not to just sit here and bash him, because there's things that he does great, and I give him credit for it. His in-game adjustments, the approach that he takes about teammates trusting each other, and communication that he forces on guys. Like, some things he does the best I've ever seen, but then there was some things that him and I went through that were, and I know he went through it with other guys, that that's for me is unforgivable, right? Like, I can't, there's no excuses for those things, and it played a big part on my career, but I don't blame him for nothing. I don't, like, I'm a man at the end of the day. I take full responsibility for everything that I did, but that's probably what I got to say about it.
Damn, that's such a mature and responsible answer. And number one, the big thing that we're trying to do with what we're doing here on this pod is kind of, one, bridge the gap between normal people and players, right? So there's not as much animosity, but two, give you guys a platform to tell your side of stories where it just, the other media outlets can't, right? And so for you to sit here and tell me, hey, it is what it is. It played out how it played out, and I'm not bashing someone, bro. Much respect.
Appreciate you.
Much respect.
Because I know, especially with that, a lot of people would definitely just like, oh, this is my time to shine, to be over here and just dog this person out.
Jason Kidd.
Say, But I
that's
think a
not
lot of
happening.
people, a lot of people just need to communicate, learn that different people take different types of communication.
Yeah.
But like you were
And I,
saying,
and I, yeah, you know how words
Yeah.
can carry
Yep.
on, and it
Yep.
could turn into something. My bad. It could turn into something that's, it's just not needed, right?
Yeah.
Like whatever happened.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I felt the way, he felt the way.
still kicking.
Right.
Moving forward.
Um,
All right.
Exactly.
All right, now 2016, 2017. The year was going well. Rondo got hurt. Give me an example of the experience of what it was playing with like Rondo, Jimmy, Wade, like just that solid team that y'all had over in Chicago.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was an up and down year. But during the playoffs, it was cool to see like a guy of D Wade and a guy like Jimmy, their stature to kind of let Rondo hold the keys for a little bit.
Yeah.
So they basically Rondo was like, listen, like I've been watching the film. I feel like we can exploit this against the Celtics on the offense. And they were locked in. They were tuned in. They were like, okay, let's do this. And once that happened, I think we were up 2-0, and then Rondo got hurt. But what he was showing us was working, and we were like, man,
Yeah.
like that, like it was showed Rondo's true, like his mindset, it showed his mind on display, like his knowledge of the game, and it was cool to see, man. It was cool. Like I really feel like if he doesn't get hurt, I feel like we win that series.
Yeah.
For sure, and that's why, because these were like kind of like on not the downside, but the back ends of their career, of Rondo and Wade's career, and so I don't
Right.
think it was expected for y'all to go as far as y'all did,
Yeah.
because of that situation. But what role did you play on that team?
My role was up and down that whole year. I'm not gonna lie. Like I went from games where Jimmy was hurt, I was starting to and playing well I had like DNPs that year. Like didn't play any games,
Yeah.
didn't dress for some games, right? So my role was up and down. And kind of once you get into that mix, it's just people use the stay ready,
Yeah.
all the time in the NBA. Just stay ready, just stay ready. So my minutes were up and down. I was six man sometimes. I was backup point guard sometimes. I wasn't. So it was like I said, it was a crazy year. It was Fred Hoiberg's first year coaching. So he was going through some of those things as a head coach for the first year. So he was trying to figure things out.
Yeah.
So it was a cluster of things going on that year.
Did you focus on a certain side of the court?
Yeah, I was trying to focus on defense
Yeah.
to get me on the court. I feel like a lot of the times, if guys are trying to work their way on the court, they should focus on the defensive end. Like if
Yeah.
you're getting stops out there, if you're stopping guys, then you'll get on the court more because most teams have those guys that are already taking care of offense. Like our game is so isolated right now, but two or three guys can carry a whole offense,
Yeah.
and then the rest got to fill in the blanks, right? And a lot of the times guys don't think, okay, if I can be a lockdown defender and guard the other team's best guy, I can find my way on the court. So that's what I was trying to do.
I love that answer because we've seen it with DeJounte Murray. He talked about that when he was in San Antonio. So I got to ask, man, again, we talked about defense earlier on. what came, how the hell did you learn to focus on that so primarily?
I think I figured it out just trying to, like I said, finding my way on the court, right? There was some times where I was out the lineup and I was like, I got to find a way, and what's my way? Again, it wasn't gonna be me coming in and scoring 20, 25 a night because the opportunity wasn't there. Like I would have tried to fight something that I couldn't be able to fight. Like it wouldn't have worked. So if I figured, if I can guard the best player on the team, if I can be a pest on the defensive end,
Yeah.
kind of coach would have no choice, and then I'll get more minutes, and then okay, I can sneak in offense here and
Yeah.
there, and keep building that up to eventually where I can be like, okay, now I can have a more of a significant role on the offensive end. But the staple was always to be a lockdown defender.
I love that. That honestly, man, that's always been one of my favorite fucking things about the game is not only being able to get a bucket on someone, but if you can strap someone on the other end or at least make effective defensive plays, and that's how you become one of my favorite players, man. That's how I play ball.
Yep.
So I love it.
Since you focus on defense so much, how was it like guarding? Who was your hardest person to guard? Is what I'm asking. 'Cause we was watching a clip of the double overtime with Kyrie. It's the second week in the game, and you have to guard one of the
Yeah.
most elite point guards. So, like, who's the hardest person you ever guarded?
Man, that's tough, right? It depends on the night. Like guarding Kyrie when he's on is, damn near impossible. Guarding Steph guarding Steph in general is hard because he doesn't stop moving, so you got to chase him everywhere. So that's another one. And then Westbrook, when he was,
Yeah.
when he was having that role on where he was doing everything and he was in constant attack mode, yeah, that you knew you were in for a long night there too.
All right, I want to talk about Charlotte again, especially since we're coming off of Jay Lamb.
Lambo,
Yeah.
that's my guy.
I want to focus actually on Dwight Howard for a second, because no funny stuff. No, again, you know what we're about now. No funny stuff.
Is basketball.
Right. Yes.
No, I get it.
So at that time, when you were there and you guys were together, Dwight was 32 years old. He played in damn near, I think he only missed one game that year, 81 out of 82. But he was averaging almost 17 points, 12 and a half boards, and almost 2 blocks. So what do you think, in your opinion, on Dwight Howard? What was the most slept-on quality about him?
I think you said it right. Him and the ability to come in and get those numbers every single night. It's tough because no knock on Dwight. Like he like I said, he can come in and give you those numbers. But I think it was just the other things that people not even off the court stuff, not even off the court stuff. I'm saying on the court stuff. Like I think that that same year, right, he averaged those numbers, but he also led the league in offensive fouls and he also led the league in travels. And some things that he would voice to the team. And again, Dwight's you know what I mean. I liked him as a player. He's a good dude, a good player. Like I have no knocking on him, but I think the reason why people would start to be on him, given those numbers, was because a lot of the times he would preach things and then kind of do the opposite in the games. But he would still get his numbers though. You know what I mean? And the defensive, on defense, was he following the defensive plan where it wasn't affecting other guys, and guys would get frustrated. But I mean, it's hard to complain about a guy who does go out there and does get those numbers. So I think it was the conversation is happening about him because of those other things, right? If it was just he was averaging 16, 12, whatever, then there would be no debate, what's going on here? Why isn't he getting the respect that he was supposed to be getting? But I think it's because of those other things that people started to question, is this still the same Dwight as we've seen for a while?
Bro, that's an interesting take. I had
you cannot average the most offensive fouls and travels in the same season. It's got to be one or the other. You can't lead in both. You know what I mean? And that was, and I think we had team meetings yo, bro, we gotta do this, we gotta do that, and it'd be yeah. And then when we get on the court, it'd be what happened?
You think he just lacked fundamentals?
I don't know. I don't know. He had I think he had a few bad habits. He'd spin baseline, step out of bounds. The game started to change a little bit. Guys started, the flopping on defense started to come to play a little bit. The game evolves a little bit, and some guys adjust to it well, and some guys it takes a little longer. By no means, I think Dwight he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
He's one of the best bigs to ever play our game. In his prime, he's one of the most unstoppable players that ever touched the ball. He could do a lot of things. He was even good as a backup big. He could do a lot of things. But I think if we are on the subject of what was going on with him, I think in having those numbers, I think explaining the other side, it kind of makes more sense to people.
I respect the answer. It's not one that I've ever heard, so I appreciate it. So then pivoting back to, because you just said Jay Lamb, your guy. What's some of the best memories you had on that Hornets team?
Man, just kicking it with me, Jay Lambo, Kemba, and Marvin Williams. All of us. Yeah, 3 great dudes, playing with them on the court, hanging out with them off the court, doing whatever it was, on the plane, vibing up, laughing. Some of the best times of my career, for sure. Frank Kaminsky, him too.
Frank.
Yeah, Frank. Frank.
Okay. What is it about Marv that so many players are so fond of?
Marv is probably one of the greatest people I've ever met in my life. Not even just for basketball. He just has this. He has this way about him where he carries himself. He doesn't say nothing bad about nobody. He just he's like he's just an OG. Like he's just like a grandpops. Like he's just you know what I mean? He's cool.
Yeah.
Like he's cool. He's always, you know, he works hard. He's always, you know, giving you, you know, inspirational stuff without, you know, sounding corny or like, you know, kind of he's the type of person that when he talks, people listen. And I think that carries a long way, you know, in his life. He's just a pure human being. Yeah, and it was just tough. It was tough. It would be like in pivotal times where he's setting offensive foul on the screen and Kemba's coming off, and it's just like
It stopped the momentum.
yeah, it stops the momentum, and it's
yeah.
like you know what I mean. Then you puts coach in a bind. Like, are you gonna play him? Are you gonna not? He's in foul trouble. Like we can't. Yeah, at this point in the game, we can't afford one of those. Like we got to take care of the ball. Like, and Dwight said he's an ultra competitor too, so he wants the ball in the post, and like
Yeah.
that kind of game of basketball is, you know, is
It's
you know,
diluting.
worn out a little
Let's
bit.
say
It's
going away.
diluting. Yeah, so it's like, it's a hard. It was a hard dynamic to, you know, to accomplish.
Kind of just side note, if you had to, because like there were comparisons between Shaq and Dwight. If you just looking at their, just who would you rather pick? Who would you pick?
Hold on, Mike. I think the better question is, well, two questions, and you can answer that one. But mine off that would be, is he as dominant as we or the fans think that he is?
Who, Dwight?
Yeah.
Yep. Because Shaq, you know how Shaq says,
Shaq.
"Hey, don't put that D word in there whenever he's talking about Dwight. So,
Or any
Yeah,
big
no,
man.
no. I mean, I think Orlando Dwight was
Orlando
definitely Orlando Dwight was definitely him. Like, there's no doubt about it. Like, he was killing. Like, we made it to the championship. Like, he was doing his thing. But like, I think the comparison to Shaq's, I don't think. I just can't.
It's not the thing.
Can't do
You
it.
know what I mean?
Okay.
It's just not the same. Like the Diesel was a force that
Different.
we have never seen in our lives and probably will never see again. Like
yeah.
Man, I think Shaq was a one of a kind player. Like
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
nothing different about him.
yeah.
If we had to put a starting five of all time for the people that you played with, who would be your starting five?
All prime?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, that's tough. I probably CP at the one. Giannis would be in there.
I'm gonna say seven because I know you're gonna. I'm gonna say seven.
Let's go seven.
Starting seven.
7? All right,
Yeah.
cool. It would be Giannis, D Wade, Jimmy. Oh, wait. James was in there.
James was there.
James is in there.
Damn, that's tough.
Dwight. I put Dwight in there at the 5. I feel like I'm gonna forget somebody, but I gotta go with Kemba and Rondo. I don't. Am I forgetting somebody?
So your PG. So you got. So who's your?
Who's your starting point?
Yeah,
guard?
yeah. So you got CP at your one.
I put CP at the 1.
Yeah.
Put Jimmy at the 2. Oh man. I don't know. Maybe. I'm prep. Yeah, it's preference. People are gonna look at me crazy for not having D Wade at the 2 in his prime. I know,
Yeah.
but like, I don't know, man. Prime D Wade is probably tough. I mean, yeah, I probably put. And I can put Jimmy at the 3, but then I leave James out the prime. Yeah, and I probably I put D Wade at the 2. I'll put Jimmy at the 3, and I'll put Giannis at the 4 and Dwight at the 5. I know. Leaving James is crazy.
You know what's
Leaving
even
James Harden is out. It's crazy.
what's even crazier is that when I first put this question in there, it started off as, you know, put a starting 5 together that could compete actually with Team USA. Because I looked at the teammates you had, and I'm like, based on how he goes with this, that team damn near could actually compete with
Yeah,
Team USA.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
that's sick. So so you said CP, then you're going Jimmy or D Wade,
I'm
then
going
Jimmy.
D Wade, then Jimmy, then Giannis.
You know the defense that's being played out
That's-
there.
That's what
straight
I'm saying.
defense.
That's what I got to commit. I got to commit to the defensive end.
Oh my
commit.
god, that's sick.
Straight
I got to
defense.
commit there.
It's crazy. It's crazy you said that because that you put CP3 first because we did a take a couple months ago, about a month ago, And a lot of people said they'll pick Rondo over CP3 just
Actually,
with their
yeah.
accolades.
I think out of 30,000 votes, bro, it was like 75-25 for
What,
Rondo
what was the question?
Who would you pick as a point guard,
as a
Rondo
point
or
guard to lead a
CP3?
team in their prime. Yeah.
CP3. Yeah, I mean, it could go either way. I would pick either one of them.
Yeah.
It's just hard because if you look at today's game, there's so much shooting in today's game. That's the only thing that holds me back.
With Rondo?
Yeah, but like, you can't go wrong with either one. It's 50-50 to me, but that's the only reason why you know what I mean, why I chose. I mean, it's interesting though. Like, Rondo got the championships, you know,
Yeah.
in his career. Like, you know,
Because it's kind of it's CP3 one of my favorite point guards. Like, but you'll hear so many people say that he's overrated or that he has like no real accolades. He's not that good of a point guard. I was like, that's crazy to me. Like, I'm not saying it's a wash,
crazy.
but I just don't feel like people respect CP3 as much as they should. Because of his,
they need to go watch New Orleans CP3.
that's what I'm saying. And like, because of only thing I can really say about Paul is the fact that somewhat of a defensive liability, but being the star he is, you surround him with defensive players to make him not much. Like, but
And he's like top 10 in steals.
in
all
steals,
time.
yeah, steals never makes turnovers. Like, but I think
Takes care of the
everybody's
ball.
judging him off of
Not winning a
currently.
championship and get
Yeah.
injured in the playoffs. Like,
still
what have you done for me lately? Type. I get it.
still one of the most frustrating things. I mean, I wanted to go to Satan to win, but I was so pissed when he did that spin move. I was so mad. I was like, "Where you going?"
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's tough. He's had some tough moments in the playoffs, but yeah, I mean, he's an all-time great. Both Hall of Famers, though.
Oh, for sure. I was about to ask about the
Go ahead.
super team question.
Oh, I got a question for you.
The super
Yeah,
team
bro.
questions.
All right, listen. So we got a lot of flack here, and we've had multiple opinions, but I want to get yours. First, define a super team.
A super team has three. I wouldn't say all-stars. They got to have three superstars on their team.
Okay. All right, my man
Well,
Kyle's looking at my
well,
funny.
well, thank you. I
see-
appreciate you. That's all I
okay.
wanted to
Jay Lamb said the same thing. But then how can we say that the Phoenix Suns, when they picked up obviously Brad, they were saying that was a super team. Brad wasn't a superstar. To me, he was all-star.
It was all-star.
Here's the thing about super teams. We saw the most super of all super teams when KD went to Golden State.
Exactly.
Like,
Right.
that put fear in the league. Like the
Yeah,
league was
for
like,
sure.
you know, who's gonna win it? Like, no question, Golden State's gonna
Exactly.
win.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
nobody. So now it's like when a super team is so-called created, there's that fear factor really isn't there, right? Because it's
Yeah.
like, yo, we've all played against Golden State, we've all played against KD with the Warriors. So like, anything less than that is deemed to be beatable, right? Like,
True.
I think on paper, I think that Phoenix is a super team. But do I think that it strikes fear in anybody?
No.
Not really.
That's
Right?
exactly
Like,
what I
feel
said.
Like the confidence to beat Phoenix is a lot higher than the confidence was to beat Golden State. And like everybody going through that run and dealing with how they played and adjusting to that and like finding ways to, you know, beat a team full of shooters is like now adapted in the league.
Yeah.
So like it's hard because like and it's different dynamic too, right? Clay was getting 60 off 4 dribbles,
Yeah,
right? Like he
crazy.
doesn't need a dribble. Like Brad isn't like, I don't think he's that type of dude to do that, right? Like he's gonna put the ball on the floor a little bit. He's gonna take it to the rim. Like there's gonna be a lot more, you know, that rather than just a straight sniper on the outside just shooting threes, right? All three of those guys like to put the ball on the floor. When for Golden State it was like, you know, KD doesn't need to put the ball on the floor. Steph doesn't need to put the ball on the floor. Clay doesn't need to put. They can spread you out so far that like they're just passing, you know, passing the ball around, and then, you know, so that's probably my answer. I don't know if that answers the question, but like I just don't. I think it is a super team. I just think that it's not something that somebody fears.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, the argument actually started with the question
Boston.
is currently the current Boston Celtics team, are they a super team or can they be considered a super team?
I don't think so.
It's a
I
really
think
good team.
Yeah, I think it's just a really really good team. Like they're like I don't a super team. I think is a collective of guys that they put together that are like have been, monsters, on other teams. Have been superstars on other teams. These guys have been together for a while. People were not high on Porzingis after a while. Like
Yeah.
nobody was talking about. I mean, they talk about he can shoot the ball well, but like
He wasn't the unicorn no more.
he wasn't the
Yeah.
unicorn no more. And like then they added Porzingis. Like Al Horford played real well. Derek White played real well. Like these are guys that aren't superstars elsewhere. But they got Drew Holiday was a great pickup. People don't consider him as a superstar, but he's a great player, right? Like I think they're just a very well-rounded team that fit together real good.
Yeah, 'cause I said if you use the word super team, it kind of discredits the organization for Boston specifically because like they did what they had to do. They found those pieces. And then the pushback was, well, the Clippers are a super team last year. I said, no. People were telling Westbrook to retire. Should he? No. But people were telling him to
Right.
retire, and then they put him on paper, you're going to be like, how did these four guys play together? But at the same time, if you lived it, they were not a super team. This is why they lasted for 2 years. So
Right. Oh yeah, I don't think they're a super team either.
All right, good. So that's the basketball segment. After essentially these questions, I got to looking at these damn things. And I was like, man, this is a lot of mental stuff. So I'm gonna pick and choose here if you're cool with that.
Cool. Yeah.
Because I want to go deep, but not too deep, right? So, I want to talk about, and you've said this multiple times, man, but obviously winning Rookie of the Year, being in those discussions with the GM and the coach, and again, you said this, you weren't asking for anything, but they were asking you like, hey, what do you think about this, and that? And it made you feel like you were really being a part of something to grow in Philly. And then then you get traded. So how'd you deal with that? What was the emotions going through that process?
It was tough because I felt like it was the first time in my life, I've ever been traded. I had to get, pack all my stuff in 2-3 days and move to Milwaukee. It was a weird feeling, right? Because it's like Milwaukee traded somebody that, that they, loved. The people loved them. The staff loved them. The players loved them. So I was walking into a situation where, locker room was quiet. They just lost a brother that, they've been playing with for a long time. So it was like, damn, like I didn't ask for this, but like it just happened, right? So like, I mean, obviously guys were, welcoming. So it was awkward there. And then I was dealing with other emotions that I felt like a team just gave up on me. So there was, trying to get over that. So it was hard. There was a lot of different emotions. Like my mind, I didn't understand why. I was constantly trying to figure out like why they trade me. Like what did I do? Did I say something wrong? Like they had me in all their plans. Like what did I do to deserve, this? Like I just won Rookie of the Year and then I, get traded. It wasn't making sense to me. So I think the whys were something that I tried to figure out for a long time until I was just like, you know what? I got to stop trying to figure this out.
Let me ask you, and answer this the best you can, or if you don't feel like there's an answer you can give, then obviously let me know that too. But how would you compare that feeling, or what is the equivalent to that for the common person?
I don't know, man. I don't want to be too dramatic because like losing your job, like there's not another one, waiting for you. Obviously getting traded, you're still getting paid, very, very well.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe getting transferred in a position and they're like, yeah, you got to be here by tomorrow and you got to leave your friends and family. I don't know. It's a tough thing to, it's a tough thing to comprehend if you don't, if you haven't really been through that situation.
Yeah. See, my opinion on it is that I think you separate the two, like the emotional aspect of it versus what's actually happening, like the feeling of why something's not happening, or at least why someone would put you on this pedestal, invite you into certain chats, make you feel like you're a part of something, and then poof, it's over with. That's the part that really gets me. Not the fact that, traded to another team. Yeah, you're making millions. Yeah, you're playing somewhere else. Yeah, that's cool. But that feeling lives with you for a very long time, which
For sure.
I know is rough. So that's why I was trying to see like how we could relate that to the common folk.
Want to say hello?
Hello, how are
What's
you?
up? How you
Say what's
doing?
up. Say my name is Red.
I can fly.
It is a pleasure to meet you.
Okay, go downstairs, brother.
All right, look, I'm going down this, and then we'll turn around. But for me, it'd be the equivalent of like of having a rocky relationship with your dad or something, and finally you get that back a little bit, and he's like, yeah, we can do this, giving you all these promises, and they're gonna establish a relationship, and then gone. Kind of like that Fresh Prince episode. Why you don't want it?
Right.
So that's
Yeah,
what I'm saying.
No, yeah, I get that too, and like, or a girl
Yeah.
telling you the world, we gonna be
Yep.
this, we gonna be that, and then she just pills on you.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
goes with another guy.
Right, over another dude.
Another guy.
Yeah, Houston is a good one.
Like, what was the biggest hurdle at Houston?
I don't know. I felt like I could see, seeing my way out of Houston, getting cut. That was the first time I've ever been cut. Things weren't going well with the team. I could see they started to get away from me. I felt like I didn't really, get a chance to excel on the team. Like there was just a lot of different things going on. But yeah, no, I mean, I was going through personal things too. Like I was, before I got cut, like probably a week before that, my wife, well, my fiance at the time, she ended up calling off the engagement. She left with my 1-year-old. Not even, she wasn't even one yet. She was probably like 6, 7 months. She had left me, to California. So I was there in Houston, kind of, without her, without my daughter. A week later, I get released. And so it was rock bottom for me in my life. Like I've never, been that low. I've never been that depressed. I've never, had that anxiety, feeling like that in my life. So it's kind of a moment for me where I'd have been like, who am I as a person? What do I want to do? What are my moral values in my life? Am I going to take, basketball more serious? Not that I wasn't. I just was, all these questions were, kind of going in my head. And kind of, how I could fix everything. I wanted to be more stable. I was sick and tired of playing in a new city each year. What did that look like for me? How was I gonna, get my family back together? And luckily I was able to kind of accomplish all those things in given time. But yeah, Houston was hard for me. It was a rough time for me. I think it was the first time in my life where I let, the NBA mentality, kind of get to me, with going out at night, hanging out with girls, doing a lot of things that, you can't balance. And, I was trying to be one person and be, and it was being a different person at the same time.
What were some of the steps that you took to get back on your feet?
Therapy was big for me. Started going to therapy. Just started looking inwards in myself, like thinking about who I wanted to be as a person. Things that, I needed to fix on a daily habit. I stopped trying to, figure everything out in one day. I kind of just, each day I would take it day by day and just try to do the best I could and try to be the best person I could be, each day. So therapy was big for me. Started getting into reading, started reading things that I normally wouldn't have. Started being more vulnerable, being more open with people, and just started to talk about, my feelings a little bit and not look at it as such a, negative thing to do.
I love that. And so this actually segues. So seeing your child there, that was beautiful. So I want to ask you then, as a father, how did actually becoming a father influence your approach on life, or realistically, even in basketball?
Yeah, I mean, it changed, right? Because I mean, every decision that I was making, even now, is not only about me, right? It's for my kids, it's for my wife. Like, all the decisions I make away from them still affect them in some sort of way.
Yeah.
Who I am, how I speak, how I present myself. It's not only just for me, it's for them too. So, kind of realizing that, kind of grounded me a little bit and was like, okay, I really need to start thinking before I do things. I can't be impulsive. I gotta, if I'm going through something, how can I handle it in a healthy way instead of just trying to, put a Band-Aid over something, right? Like, how can I heal? How can I do things that, you know, that they will look at me
Yeah.
and then they'll be like, okay, if I'm going through that, I saw dad do this and that, and, I could, try to help them in a healthy way instead of me leading, by a bad example.
It's a beautiful thing being a father. So what's one lesson that you hope to instill into your children?
That's a good question. I mean, obviously, every parent wants their kids to, kind of be patient through things, but life's going to throw a bunch of different things at them. Life throws a bunch of things at everybody. It's just, kind of how we handle them, right? Lean
Yeah.
on the people that are close to you. How can you handle tough times in a healthy way, and how can you build good habits? I think building good habits is a big lesson that, I'm going to try to, teach them.
While you were playing, or just while you were growing, just maturing, like, how did your vision of success change over time?
I think for a while, my vision of success was like, how can I put the most money in my pocket? What can I do to make the most money? Like, I was so money driven on, and it's, I'm not saying it's a bad thing to, want money and to chase dollars and to do all those things. But I think as I've grown more and more, I think that success is just, me being happy, every day. I can be happy. I remember growing up, I didn't have a lot, like, and I was, the happiest kid in the world. So finding that happiness with what I have, with the people that I'm surrounded with, not to say that I don't go out and try to, make money and do those things, but just finding a better balance of, okay, like, with success, what does that look like for me is being happy, and also, just getting small wins each day.
You kind of answered that question, because I had a follow-up question with that. Like, what do you think is better? What is more important to you, at least, being a good person or your basketball career?
Oh, being a good person, 100%. That's always first for me. I've made it to the highest level. I played at the highest level for 10 years. I was plenty good in basketball. I just, being a good person, it takes working on yourself each day, and, you can't be a good enough person ever. So, working on that till the day I die is something that I'm always going to do. I'm always going to, I think the people around me would say, I'm a good dude. I take care of my family. I try to live the right way. I try to treat people how I want to be treated. And, yeah.
I heard this the other day, and I want to ask you, have you ever met a player that's worked literally as hard as you or harder than you and knew that they'd only play 3 to 5 minutes or maybe even get DNPs?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely other guys that I've seen that were, played less than me or in a similar position to me that worked hard,
Yeah.
every single day. Yeah, and it's tough. It's a grind, right? Like, people do a lot just to stay in this league, and it's a hard thing when you're at that level, where you're, when you're an interchangeable, player. It takes a lot. You got to be on every day. You got to be you got to be in there early. You got to be working out hard. You got to be a good person. Like, you got to have a smile on your face. You got to be willing to take criticism that maybe you don't deserve. And I think the people that learn that the fastest are the people that stay in the league a long time, right? There's the guys that are talented that come in the league, and it's not, they're not in the position that they want to be. So they act out, they do things that that necessarily, that it won't keep them in the league. And if they just be patient, and they, not saying be a yes man or let anybody disrespect you, but, like, if you can be patient, and if you can play that 12th, 11th, 10th, 13th man on the floor for a little while, your role can increase. We've seen it time and time again. We've seen guys from the G League come up and be patient and wait their turn and end up starting, right? A prime example is Fred VanVleet, right? He came up from the G League, and then, he earned his way. He wasn't playing, then he started playing, then he became the backup point guard, and then he ended up starting. And then, he's one of the top paid guys in the league, right? Like, but he doesn't get that without being patient with himself and understanding what's going to get him on the court. Same thing with Jimmy, right? Like, he went from being a defensive guy to, a superstar in the league.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, if you can be patient for how you're going to get on the court, then you'll have the opportunity at some point.
All right, my man. So you are now chasing business endeavors, which you've been doing for a while. Let me ask you a question about that part of it. What's some of the biggest challenges you face transitioning from being a professional athlete and playing professional basketball to now being a business owner?
Biggest obstacle I've had is trusting the right people. Everyone in business has their story of losing, money and trusting the wrong people. And, I went through my fair share of lumps. So, figuring out people's, how do I phrase it? Figuring out, people's agendas and what they want from you. Every deal looks good. You know what I mean? You read a deal on paper and you're like, oh, man, this looks good. I mean,
Yeah.
I want to be a part of it, right? Kind of pulling back and really dissecting things and being, figuring out who people are, getting to know them. Do they want what's best for you, or are they just looking for money? So, that's been the toughest part for me. Luckily, I've been in the business for a while that I feel like I found good, solid people that I work with, and it's going to take flight soon.
What skills or lessons, for at least playing basketball and being in that realm for, well, first of all, from the time you started playing basketball to the time that you start to feel your career phases out, what lessons during that time or skills have you tried to apply to your business endeavors?
I know in basketball, like, regardless, there was probably some days where I didn't do nothing, but that's rarely. But even if I, on an off day, like, I'll still make sure I do treatment on my body, or, I'll get in the gym and do some spot shots, do free throws. Like, every day I was trying to do something to keep my mind on basketball, watching film, doing something.
Yeah.
With business, now that, it's not really, if you're a part of a company, then you might be doing something every day. But if you're, an entrepreneur and, kind of figuring out your way and doing deals here and there, I think educating yourself each day on something, different that you're focusing on, like with me for real estate, I try to learn something about real estate, each day, whether it's different terms in real estate, whether it's talking to different people, whether it's going to meetings, right? Like, I try to do something each day to keep my mind flowing and keep learning, right? So taking that work ethic of basketball, into the business world and figuring out what that looks like.
I do have a business mind frame. I just didn't know the switch is coming. But no, what books are you reading, or what books have helped you get to that mind frame?
I read the Money and Law of Attraction.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Rich Dad Poor Dad's a good one.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm reading that one.
Those two, I mean, those two are Rich Dad Poor Dad is really good, just to start off on your
Yeah.
mindset. I try not to just go crazy on business.
Yeah.
I try to read like a business book, and then a self-help, and then something totally irrelevant that whether it's a autobiography or fiction, whatever.
Just keep a good balance of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to keep the mind balanced.
So your quote in the article I read said, "I just didn't want to be looked at as a shitty basketball player." So my question for you is, in 10 years plus, when we look back at your career, what do you want people to say about NCW?
I just want people to, every time I stepped on the floor, I played the hardest I possibly could.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest compliment that I get, especially being in Orlando, right? Like, I'll see a bunch of people and they'll be like, man, watching you, I knew every time you were going to give it your all. And I was like, yeah, like that's what I want people to see me. That's how I want people to view me. It's how I've always been, no matter what level of success that I had. From being the best player on a team to being the last man on coming into the game. That's all I want people to realize, is that whenever I stepped on the floor, like, I was, sacrificing my body and giving it all.
Yeah.
You remind me of something. You obviously have been around Orlando for 5 years now? So,
Yep.
Paolo. What's one slept on quality about Paolo?
I mean, I just don't think he gets, like, you can't even name a slept on quality. I just think he gets slept on in general. Like, I don't get it. I really don't understand it. Like, the things that he was doing this year, the things that he did his rookie year, I was like, yo, like, why isn't he on ESPN every day? Like, why isn't the league pushing him like that? I don't know why, but, like, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, yo, like, it's crazy. Like, it's the second round of the playoffs as a second year player, like, the things that I don't know what it is, and performing at a high level. And, like, if I would have picked one thing, I would think that people sleep on how competitive he is. Like if you watch him play, like he's not a super emotional guy, and even that's his personality. He's quiet, but like he's ultra competitive. Like he wants to win. You can see it on his face sometimes if you're really paying attention and you really watch, like, if you're a Magic fan. But like, nah, he deserves more coverage. He deserves a bigger platform. He's an amazing hooper.
This is just a question, speculation. Is he comparable to Bron?
I don't know. I think they're similar. They have similar attributes that are the same at a young age. I don't know, man. It's hard to compare anything.
I know. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like it's just a big, like.
It's early. It's way too early to say it too. But
yeah, it's early. Yeah, it's early. It's like, yeah, it's tough.
So who are some of your favorite young players then?
Good question. Yeah, I like Paulo. Rookies or just, I mean, obviously,
Wemby's crazy,
insane, right? Like Anthony Edwards, he's 23, right?
Yeah.
I think 22, right?
Dog.
He's
Dog.
tough. I like his game. He's one of my favorite players in the league right now. Anthony Edwards. I like Paulo. I like Wemby. I'm trying to think of a guy who's like a little bit under the radar, that I think is going to be real good.
Jalen Williams?
Jalen's tough.
Williams. I really like Jalen Williams. He's the perfect fit. I actually was at OKC's practice and I was talking to their coach. He's one of my favorites too. I think he's underrated too. He's so efficient. Like, he shoots like over 40 from three and like over 55 from the field, like something crazy, right? Like I like and logs down, right? Logs down on the defensive end. So yeah, those guys.
Hey, who's your GOAT?
Kobe. Sorry.
Ah, man, the GOAT conversation is tough. I mean, it's either LeBron or Jordan. I flip flop depending on the month. I swear,
He don't like Bron.
Oh,
I swear.
my gosh, I'm not going through this again.
That's
I
crazy.
said
That's
I'm a
crazy.
LeBron hater.
It's just,
I respect him.
If you, I mean, look at his longevity though. Like, you know what I mean? Like that alone can, you can consider him the GOAT just because he's done this. He's done this for so long
At this level.
Or you consider MJ, at this level. Or you could say MJ's the GOAT because like during those years in his span, we've never seen anybody perform like that.
Yeah.
Right? Like, only thing that on the months that I'm pro Jordan, the only thing that knocks is that Dallas series with LeBron.
Oh,
that first year.
That eats at me. That eats at me a little bit. Like I'm like, I just can't picture MJ ever performing in the finals like that. Like I know in other series that he hasn't played that well, and you could go and pick and choose playoff series where MJ didn't play that well, but like on a stage like that in the championship, I just don't see that. And I don't know what that counts for, but like I don't know. But I think more often than not, I probably go LeBron. I think just because the longevity, he's been doing it for so long. He's really still a top 10 player in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
At age
100%.
like, it's crazy.
Exactly. And I didn't say I don't like Bron. I didn't say I don't like Bron. I'm a Kobe fan, so I feel like it's my duty to be a Bron hater. So that's why I respect what LeBron does. He's a great player.
Kobe, Kobe, true Kobe fans.
It's my
you gotta exit. You gotta exit.
See you later, buddy.
It's never.
Yeah, it's my duty to be a LeBron hater. That's all it is.
So do you think that Kobe's better than Jordan?
So I don't think Kobe's better than Jordan, but I think that he replicated Jordan so much that he could have surpassed him just because of his mentality. Jordan had the killer mentality, but I mean, like at that time, just in the net, like that time of that era, I feel like the hard work, the work wasn't as put in as much, like Kobe was, or just it might be media, it might be something like that, but literally just he replicated Mike, so it's like. That's my preference. I grew up with Kobe, so I didn't watch Mike. I watched Kobe, so that's why I picked Kobe.
What do you think?
As far as what? Do I think he's better than Jordan?
Yeah, what do you think?
No. No. I love Kobe. I love everything he represented. I loved, his career. But I just don't see how people can put him better than Jordan. Because people who are Kobe fans, when they argue about him and LeBron and they say that he has 5 championships, they can't use that argument against Jordan. So it's just like I like him better than Jordan. But that doesn't mean he's like, there's a lot of guys that people like that aren't the best player
like
in the world.
Paul George right now.
Yeah, like all the youngins love Paul George.
Great player. Just
You know what I mean? I like.
yeah, I mean,
They're a little.
yeah, I mean,
No. Where are you going with that?
I mean,
No, that's funny.
No, I was gonna say I don't know. They did. I love PG. He's a great hooper. But like all the youngins think he's like the best player in the league right now.
know.
I'm just like I don't see that. But.
I mean, if I'm honest, I do think it's interchangeable. Mike Bron, Kobe, but who I grew up with, I mean, interchangeable. Mike Bron, Kobe.
No.
Interchangeable.
No.
Just to be honest. It depends what you're looking at. If you're looking at stats, if you're looking at gameplay, if you're looking at like mentality, like rings, it depends what you're looking at. Kobe is 3.
Thank
you.
I don't know. I just like I'm saying, it's hard to. People love Kobe. I get it. I don't know. Like when you come into a debate and you gotta bring in like real facts of like what happened like in their careers. Some of the things I'm just like, it's easy to ignore when it comes to Kobe.
Like what?
Like, just like he was a super volume dude. Like, both Bron and MJ shot way better from the field than Kobe. Like, it's not even close. And there's other guys Kobe's had performances that weren't like great at certain points of his career that like people like to overlook because they think that he's had I don't know. It's just hard. The field goal percentages at times was like
It's crazy.
It wasn't top 3 ever. Good. Like it got crazy at times, right? So it's like I don't know. I don't know. I'm not a Kobe hater. I am from Boston. I'm not a Kobe hater though. I like Kobe. He's one of the best to ever do it. I just think when it comes to the GOAT conversation, I think people get a little delusional sometimes.
I think you're a realist, and I appreciate that. I think that's needed in the basketball world, especially when debating that conversation. So I'm glad I asked.
His name will always be his name will always float around in there though.
All right, so excellent episode again, Mike. I appreciate having you.
Appreciate it,
This was
my
a
man.
hell of a time.
No problem, bro. Thank you guys for having me.